This is part 2 of the U.S. History midterm recording for the modified test. We're picking up with question 31. Question 31 says, which of the following is one way in which the European economy was impacted by the Columbian Exchange? You do have a chart here that gives you a visualization of what the Columbian Exchange involved and what was exchanged between New World and Old World. There's also a legend that tells you what the items on the map is over here to the right. Many European crops were destroyed by diseases brought from North and South America. Cocoa, corn, potatoes, and tobacco became major exports from Europe. Or the last option, the European economy strengthened from the amount of new resources and people with whom they traded. Which is the best option here that explains how the European economy was impacted by the Columbian Exchange. Number 32, why did early colonial North America develop into 3 distinct regions? Northern region, the middle region, and the southern colonial region. Each region was settled by people from England and shaped by their specific plans for the natural environment. Second option, each region was settled by people from England and shaped by their specific plans for governmental structure. Or the last option, each region was settled by people of different origins and was shaped by the natural resources that were available. Question 33, which of the following best completes the diagram here? The diagram starts here at the top with reasons for the decline of the Native American population. A bubble coming off to the left says military conquests by the Europeans. There's a question mark in the middle bubble that you will be looking at the options to fill in, whichever one makes sense. And the one to the right says overworked on plantations and mines. So the option in the middle with the question mark here, are we looking for widespread famine and starvation, numerous natural disasters, or exposure to European diseases? Which one of these best completes the diagram pictured here? Number 34, what is the main reason why early settlements were near waterways? Was it because waterways were the only method by which colonial people could travel? Waterways were the only source of water for settlers? Or waterways were critical for the colonial American economy? Number 35, you need to read the passage below and answer the following question. How did geography impact the difference in the slave population and how they were used? Here's the passage. In colonial North America, slavery practices often varied due to an area's climate and geography. Because the South had a long growing season, farmers could make large profits by harvesting multiple times a year. By the mid-1700s, the southern colonies had become very dependent on slavery. Southern landowners purchased more and more slaves to increase production in their tobacco, rice, cotton, sugar, and indigo fields. In the northern colonies, there was a lower need for slaves. However, northern businessmen still did make large profits by investing in the slave trade. Slaves that lived in the north often worked as household servants, skilled laborers, or as field hands on much smaller farms. So again, our question here after reading that passage is, how did geography impact the difference in slave population and how they were used? Our options are geography influenced the types of crops grown, and the crops required different levels of labor. The geography of northern plantations required more labor than the geography of southern plantations. Or the last option, people in the South didn't believe in using slave labor, while people in the North preferred slave labor. Question number 36, which document was written to address the goals listed? Justified separation from Great Britain, articulated the responsibilities of modern government, and announced to the world America's new status as free and independent. So which document did these 3 things? Was it the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, or the Constitution? Number 37, the list below contains reasons the Americans won the Revolutionary War. Choose another reason that the Americans won the Revolutionary War from the options provided. The options given, or the reasons they won, are French support was secured, 5,000 former slaves joined the Continental Army, and Britain lost interest in fighting a long, costly war. So we're looking for another reason that the Americans won the Revolutionary War. Was it the war was fought on American territory, the superiority of the American military, or Americans' weapons were more sophisticated? Question 38. Which of the following best describes the Articles of Confederation? They listed the basic rights granted to all U.S. citizens. They declared the independence of the 13 colonies from Great Britain, or they formed the first government of the United States. 39. During the Constitutional Convention, the states had to make a number of negotiations in order to agree. Which of the following were attempts to compromise? The New Jersey Plan, the Federalist Plan, or the Three-Fifths Compromise? Number 40. The Bill of Rights was written to protect the rights of the states, businesses, or individuals. Number 41. Which of the following was not part of the Missouri Compromise of 1820? You can use the image and map here to help you answer this question. Maine entered the United States as a free state. Florida Territory was returned to the Spanish. Missouri entered the United States as a slave state. So which of the following was not part of the Missouri Compromise of 1820? Number 42, the quote below is from the Declaration of Sentiments. It was a document written at the first Women's Rights Convention that took place in Seneca Falls, New York in 1848. This declaration was modeled after which significant document in American history? This is a portion from the Declaration of Sentiments right here in quotes. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Is this quote from the Declaration of Sentiments modeled after the Mayflower Compact, the Articles of Confederation, or the Declaration of Independence? Number 43, we have a cause and effect chart for you to complete. Choose the option below that would best replace the question mark in the diagram above. Native Americans were moved to Canada, where they were given full citizenship. Native Americans removed white settlers from their land after a long, difficult war over land. Or the third option, Native Americans were moved west to what we now call Oklahoma, with many dying along the way. Number 44, which region of the U.S. saw the largest and most rapid increase in industrialization and was also the region where industrialization began in the U.S.? Was that in the Southwest, the Northeast, or the Northwest? Number 45, which statement best explains the concept of manifest destiny? Was it the idea that it was God's plan for the nation to expand across the continent? The belief that white Americans of European lineage or ancestry were better than other races? Or the last option, the trust that political solutions were usually possible? Question 46. Read the passage below and answer the following question. After reading this clip from a primary document, a letter written by Abraham Lincoln, what did the president believe was the main or the most important purpose in fighting the Civil War? Your options are, well, you actually will be doing a short answer for this one, so you will be telling us what you believe the most important purpose in fighting the Civil War was for Lincoln after reading this portion. So let me read this selection to you. It says, I, President Abraham Lincoln, would save the Union. I would save it the shortest way under the Constitution. The sooner the national authority can be restored, the nearer the Union will be the Union as it was. If there be those who would not save the Union unless they could at the same time save slavery, I do not agree with them. If there be those who would not save the Union unless they could at the same time destroy slavery, I do not agree with them. My paramount or most important object in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not either to save or to destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that. What I do about slavery and the colored race, I do because I believe it helps to save the Union. And what I forbear because I do not believe it would help save the Union. I shall do less whenever I shall believe what I am doing hurts the cause, and I shall do more whenever I shall believe doing more will help the cause. I shall try to correct errors when shown to be errors, and I shall adopt new views so fast as they shall appear to be true views. So again, after reading that portion, tell me in this portion right here underneath, you'll be writing your short answer, what you believe Lincoln's most important purpose in fighting the Civil War was. Question 47. Southern states began to leave the Union not long after this event. The fighting at Fort Sumter in South Carolina, the Battle of Gettysburg was lost by the South, or the election of Abraham Lincoln. Question 48. Which option below describes the impact of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments on the United States after Reconstruction? These amendments were stepping stones to economic equality for African Americans in the South by the early 1800s. These laws gave land back to African Americans by taking it from former slave owners, making African Americans wealthy in the South. Or the amendments were rarely enforced in the South, and African Americans did not experience legal equality until the 1950s and 1960s. Question 49. Using the maps below, explain how the lives of African Americans changed between 1860 and 1880. It is not enough in this question to simply tell me what the differences are between the maps physically. You have to state what the differences are and connect them to what the changes were for African Americans and how these changes changed their lives. You do have a blank down here in which to write your short answer. 50, and your last question, which term describes Americans who disliked and did not trust immigrants? Were they known as suffragists, nativists, or anarchists? Please remember again while you're completing your test that you should be marking down on a piece of paper 1 through 50 and making a note of what you've answered in case something should happen to your test. You don't want to have to start all over again. You should be saving your answers as you go, and you should also click Submit for Grading when you're done. If you do not click Submit for Grading, I will not get a grade for you in the gradebook, and it will not post. So please make sure to do that properly so that your test can be completed and entered into the gradebook. All right, good luck on your midterm. I hope all goes well. Please contact your teacher with any questions that you may have.